Welcome to Everlasting Talk.
Hello, welcome to Everlasting Talk. I'm Rose Ever. Today we're talking about Grigori Rasputin on the Biography series. Before we get started, make sure to check me out or Everlasting Talk on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and a couple, or adding a couple more. But yeah, you can check us on those at Everlasting Talk. And like I mentioned today, we're talking about Rasputin. Raspu- uh, Gregory Rasputin was a mystic and self-proclaimed holy man. He befriended the last emperor of Russia, Nicholas II. Rasputin was born on either January 9th, 1869 or January 21st, 1869. It's disputed in the Russian Empire. No one really knows, and there's no real birth certificate on his actual date of birth. His father was a peasant farmer and church elder. He also had seven other siblings, but all died in infancy, so he was the only child. But allegedly, there was a ninth child, but there's no proof of that or not. There's no DNA testing at the time, so he's the last surviving child of his parents. By 1886, he would meet and marry a woman by the name of Praskupa. I can't say that. Uh, they themselves had seven children, so yeah, it happens, generational. By 1897, he had a renewed interest in religion. He actually went on a pilgrimage after having a vision of the Virgin Mary or Saint Simone, or just had a mental breakdown and needed to leave. No one really knows if his visions were true or he just wanted the reason to leave his family. He would go ahead and become a pilgrim and started getting followers, um, a sect. And by 1904, 1905, he would get notoriety by the church in St. Petersburg, Russia, aiding close to the aristocracy of the Russian society. So yeah, I mean, he ended up getting a lot of followers, and then he got the attention of the government, and this is where the story continues. He eventually met the Tsar and the Tsarina in 1905. He um Nicholas II and Alexandra. He claimed to have healing powers, which he used to help the Tsar's son Alexei of hemophilia. He also had a reputation of being a womanizer and would get major influence over Nicholas and Alexandra, which started to become dangerous for the Russian Empire because they were afraid that he would give too much power to him, and then so they were kind of afraid of him, with that. He would be around the children of the Tsar and had there was many accusations of inappropriate behavior with the children, allegedly. Nicholas would actually order him to leave because there was allegations that he was having an affair with Alexandra, the Tsarina, and also four other grand duchesses. But there's no proof of that. Eventually, many saw Rasputin as a threat to Russian society and politics, because, like you say, he had a lot of influence, and he wanted power, or not power, but he could influence their decisions on many things about what they do with the government and such. So that was kind of dangerous for them. So a bunch of nobles got together, such as Prince Felix and Grand Duke Dmitri and a few others, and they came up with a plan to kill him. Um, so yeah, they were really threatened by him. They were afraid that he would do something, or say something, or he would convince someone to take over the government or something like that. But so he was actually invited to Prince Felix's house, for a party, and on December 30th, 1916, um, he would at the party he would get shot at close range three times, one near his forehead and two in the chest. Um, but the original plan was that they would lace his tea and cakes with cyanide. But after he ate the cake, several pieces, and had drank the tea, which he refused, they had no effect on him. So he had no effect to the cyanide at all. So it was kind of surprising to the attempted assassins that he did not have any effect to that, and there were so the backup plan was to go ahead and shoot him. So after that failed, after that, I said after failed, they resorted to shooting him. Um, but when they shot him, he didn't die in the home right away. He kept walking and running and running. So it didn't affect him for a little bit. Probably the probably something the cyanide probably kept him alive a little bit longer or something. But eventually he collapsed in a snowbank, where he fell dead. Eventually, it was in the middle of the night, so eventually Prince Felix, Dmitri, and a few others, they got his body, threw his body in the Malaya Nisha River. And a couple days later, his body was found on January 1st, 1917, by police, because they did hear the gunshots and they did hear the ruckus. People did hear the ruckus outside. So definitely something that people, the police were looking into. He actually got buried the next day, and by March of that year, his body was exhumed and buried by his followers. After the Tsar, Nicholas II, abdicated the throne. I think, yeah, because then eventually they found out that like the higher ups or the royalty was involved in his death, so it did not sit well with a lot of people. So that's definitely something that people like didn't, that's why Tsar Nicholas II abdicated his throne. Um, so that's definitely something that was important. Um, I mean, his influence was that like he definitely had control over Tsar Nicholas II and his wife Alexandra, and his influence was very strong because they would go to him for many things, and it kind of felt like he got his way with a lot of things. So there was controversy in that like eventually Rasputin before his death pretty much like sealed the deal for the Russian Empire, because eventually the Russian Revolution will come around, and that's where like Stalinism and Leninism and communism would be taking hold of the government in Russia. It became the USSR for the next what, like 80 years. So it's definitely controversial because Rasputin himself did influence so much power that eventually his death would like lead to like the to Nicholas II abdicating the throne, and that led the way to the Russian Revolution. So that's definitely something. And there's some conspiracy theories about his death. People don't think he's actually dead. They might think some people think he's actually still alive. So I definitely, it depends on everybody. I say he's still dead. Obviously, it's been like 100 years, but like they don't really know his real death. You know, and Rasputin still talked to this day in Russia. He's still a very important person, a figure in Russian history. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely see that. He's definitely influenced in Russian history, and that I mean, they still show him today on many things. Like, he was mentioned in the Last Czars on 2019 miniseries. I think that's on Netflix. The King's Men. Um, in music and more. I mean, there's a song called Rasputin that's really popular right now in social media and TikTok and all that. So yeah, I mean, obviously everybody has their own opinion. I mean, if you have any feedback, please let me know via, like I said, Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and such. But yeah, this would be it for biography series and on Gregory Rasputin. Thank you so much for listening and joining me. And I'm reminding you guys, please subscribe to the podcast, on YouTube. Subscribe on, whatever place you're listening to this from. Leave a review. I love your feedback. And this is Ever. Thanks so much for listening, and see you at the next one. Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Everlasting Talk. For more content, follow us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Everlasting Talk. Thank you.